We're going live. We are live. Hello, people. Hey, everybody. Coach Stacy, Lynn here. So today I'm going to do something completely out of the norm because I feel like it and nobody can stop me, just so you know. But anyway, I just want to say hi. Hi, everybody. I hope that you're having a good day. If you're in America right now, you are probably burning up under this heat that is outside right now. It is really, really hot here in Middle Tennessee, where I'm from, which is why my hair is the way it is. Yes, it is. I need to get it cut. But I had this unfortunate thing happen with my hairstylist. She decided to retire and just discard all her clients. And I was one of them. So now I got to find a new hairstylist, which is completely annoying because it takes forever for me to find somebody to cut my hair. Anyway, so I'm fully aware, those of you who likes to criticize my hair. Anyway, all right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to continue our series in Colossians chapter 3. We're going to talk about God's love. Yeah, we are. We're talking about God's love, people. If I was on Zoom, it would be showing the hearts right now. Yeah, it would. Poof. All right. Anyway, so if you're new here, I'm Coach Stacy Lynn Harp, and I am a certified master Christian life coach. And you can get more info by looking in my bio. You can actually make an appointment with me if you want to meet me and talk to me in person, even if you don't want coaching, people. It's all right. I also just launched my 3-tier membership. And at the bottom of this video, if you see that join button, if you click that, there's a little video that tells you more about those tiers. And I really hope you check those out. If you're somebody who can't afford individual coaching, this is really a good way to go. Okay, especially now, because the fewer members there are in my group, the more time you get. Nailed it. Just saying. Okay. Anyway, so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about God's love. This is something that we don't talk about a lot because so much of the church is obsessed with all the corruption and the controversy and the criminals, the chaos. And part of my goal in life is to help you not be full of chaos, but to be full of peace. And so what we've been doing for a number of weeks now is we've been looking at how to think like Christ. And we've been doing an in-depth study in Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 through 17. Today we're up to verse 14. And usually this is what I do. Usually I write the post ahead of time on my Substack, and then I take it and I bring it here. But you know what I'm going to do today? I already looked at it and I was thinking to myself, man, this is going to take me forever to figure out how much I want to put in here. And I thought, you know what? Why don't we just do it together today so I can show you how I look at it and maybe you can learn something. So if you're live and you want to chat, that's also welcome. So right now, though, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go over to Colossians chapter 3. And I'm going to show you a couple of things. And I'm just going to read the chapter. And then when we hit verse 14, we're going to look at that. Okay. I'm reading in the NLT right now. It says, since you have been raised to new life with Christ, set your sights on the realities of heaven, where Christ sits in the place of honor at God's right hand. Think about the things of heaven, not the things of earth. We talk about that, people. For you died to this life, and your real life is hidden with Christ in God. And when Christ, who is your life, is revealed to the whole world, you will share in his glory. So put to death the sinful, earthly things lurking within you. Have nothing to do with sexual immorality, impurity, lust, and evil desires. Don't be greedy, for a greedy person is an idolater, worshiping the things of this world. Because of these sins, the anger of God is coming. You used to do these things when your life was still a part of this world. But now is the time to get rid of anger, rage, malicious behavior, slander, and dirty language. Don't lie to each other, for you have stripped off your old sinful nature and all its wicked deeds. Put on your new nature and be renewed as you learn to know your Creator and become like him. In this new life, it doesn't matter if you are a Jew or a Gentile, circumcised or uncircumcised, barbaric uncivilized, slave or free, Christ is all that matters, and he lives in all of us. The New American Standard actually translates this and adds Scythian in there, which is a very, very barbaric group of tribe people, which is really interesting today. But if you missed that one, you should go and watch it. Since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must clothe yourselves with tenderhearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. And then yesterday we talked about this. Make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. And we talked about that yesterday, and it's not always the Greek word for forgive there it's not always translated as forgive. So it's a really interesting thing. If you missed yesterday's video, just look in the playlist, you can see it. Okay, verse 14. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. And if you're as old as me, all of a sudden you started singing that song, Perfect Harmony, about Coca-Cola. Anyway, all right, so now I'm going to flip over to the New American Standard 95, which is my favorite version. I've studied it for 40 years, so I really like this version. Verse 14 says this: beyond all these things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. So here we are going to now look at the Greek. We are going to look at what it says. And the reason I want to do this live is because I think it would be really interesting. And if you're watching the replay, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And here's the other thing I have to tell you. I have come to the decision, and I know a lot of people struggle with this, right? One of the hardest things about being a YouTube or any content creator is that there's tons of people out there, and it is really tantalizing to your flesh to ignore biblical teaching. It really is. I mean, you are drawn to garbage naturally. I am too, which is why these phones can really be a big, huge distraction to us. So if you're watching this, I just want to say thank you, because I often get discouraged that the numbers are low on my videos, because I think what I'm offering is very good. I think it's really good, actually. And it's sad to me that so many other people don't, but I always remember the word of God where it says, work hardly as unto the Lord, because when you work, God sees your work and he will reward it. And my goal isn't to get 1 million people who follow me for the sake of following me. My goal is to make disciples. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to look at this verse in context now. Okay, we just read the context. Now let's look at the Greek. Okay, so when you're on Blue Letter Bible, up here you can see blueletterbible.org. Go over and just click that. Okay, and it's going to drop down this interlinear page, right? And so I'm going to try to scroll up here because I don't like how it does this. I wish it would just allow me to move the whole page, but it doesn't. But anyway, so we'll just have to make do with this. But it says beyond, and then it gives you the Greek word here, and this is the inflected root and transliteration. All these things, okay, put on love. Okay, so this is the phrase, and the word for love is agape. So I'm going to click on here. It's G26. That G stands for Greek, right? So you can see here the transliteration is the word agape, and you can see the pronunciation.
Strong's G26.
It's going to be agape.
Agape. Agape.
Agape. Okay, well, he says it agape. I say agape. In either way, it's just, you know what it means. Okay, anyway, you can see here it is used 116 times in 106 verses. So that's a lot. That's a lot of times this word is used. In the Old Testament, if you click on here, you can see that the word is used in a few verses here. And especially here in Song of Solomon 2:4, it says, he has brought me to his banquet and hall, and his banner over me is love. And then, you can see some derivatives of it here. I'm lovesick, but it's really interesting. Of course, if you go back to the New Testament results, you can then see here that we have a lot of different verses where this word agape is used. And what I do, what I want to encourage you to do, is just take 5 minutes every day, just take 5 minutes and find a verse like this, like what we're doing, and then look at the other places that word is used. You're going to uncover so much more info when you do that. You really will. It's amazing. So, because lawlessness is increased, most people's love will grow cold. Interesting that the word here for love is agape, okay? Or agape. Agape. So this says here, but woe to you Pharisees, for you pay tithe the mint and rue and every kind of garden herb, and yet disregard justice and the love of God. But these are the things you should have done without neglecting the others. Then John, but I know you that you do not have the love of God in yourself. So that's the agape. That's how he says. And John 15, just as the Father has loved me, I have also loved you. Abide in my love. So this is the special agape love, okay? And just so you know, in the Greek language, I believe there are, I'm not sure how many. I think there's 5 or 6. There might be 7 different words for love in the Greek, right? You got phileo love, which is friendship love. You have agape love. You have the sexual type of love. There are different types of love. Maybe I can make another video on that someday. But in this verse in Colossians, this is agape love. So I'm going to go ahead and share this again, just show you again. We're going to look over here. I want to show you where you can see the definition. Okay, so now you can see the different places it's used. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And you can see how the translators translate this word. They translated it love 86 times, charity 28 times, dear 1 time, charitably, it's part of that, feast of charity 1 time, okay? They use it, the outline of biblical usage is affection, goodwill, love, benevolence, brotherly love, and love feasts. And then Strong's definition here is love, i.e. affection or benevolence, especially a plural, a love feast, okay? And you see dear and love there. Okay, now this is something cool that I just recently discovered on Blue Letter Bible, and that's the show all button. Because right now you're looking at that, you see that, and you're like, wait, hold on a second. I can't do it. So if you hit show all, guess what? Look at that. Now it shows it all. And this is what we're going to look at. This is why I didn't want to write this today. I just want to go through it so you can see what it says. Because this is what I learned. This is very interesting. Oops, I got to go back here. Let's go ahead here and hit show all again. And then I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and bring it over here. Okay. So here's what Strong's says. He says, a purely biblical and ecclesiastical word for Weitenbach, following Recies or whatever, conjunction long ago, restored in place, and Plutarch, all that stuff, blah, blah. Secular authors from Aristotle, Plutarch used the thing. Anyway, Song of Solomon, he brought me to his banqueting house, and his banner over me was love. Verse 5, stay with me, flagons, comfort me with apples, for I am sick of love. This is all the agape love, okay? You can see this. You can go and you can see that it's this type of love all throughout the Song of Solomon, which is an interesting book. People read the Song of Solomon and they think it's just a book about sex. It's really not. It's also a book about God's love for his people and his bride. And it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite books, actually. And then they wrote here, it is noticeable that the word first makes its appearance as a current term in the Song of Solomon. Certainly no undesigned evidence respecting the idea which the Alexandrian translators had of the love in this song. All right, and then it gives you some other verses here. Then Ammon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love where he had loved her. And Ammon said unto her, arise, be gone. So you can look through here and you can learn a little bit. So here's what the verb means. Affection, goodwill, love, and benevolence. And I love how they put it here. They put of the love of men to men. So agape love, you can have this type of love toward mankind, toward each other. Okay. Especially of the love of Christians towards Christians, which is enjoined and prompted by their religion, whether love be viewed as in soul or as expressed. If you've been in the church for any length of time, you can hang out with believers who are real believers, and you will find a connection with them, and you will understand and feel loved by these people. And sometimes you feel more loved by those people than you actually do your real family. At least that's been my experience. So then he goes down here and he says, of the love of God towards men. So first we're looking at the love of men. Okay, wait, I missed one. So then it says of the love of men towards God, and then it says love of God towards men. And then it says of the love of Christ towards men, and of the love of God towards Christ. So love is all encompassing, goes both ways between God and Christ, man and Christ, God and Christ, and all that. It's pretty cool. And then it gives you all of these verses here, which you can just, highlight. You can look over. My love be with you all in Christ Jesus. Amen. The first epistle to the Corinthians was written by Philippi. I got a message here. Wait, hold on a second. Okay, not important. By Stephanus and Fortunus and all these names I can't pronounce. So forget that. I'm not going to read it. And then you can see down here, it says Christians of mutual affection, that love may have opportunity of influencing thee. Philemon talks about it as in a affectionate spirit. First Corinthians on love as a basis, in love as the sphere of element, all that. And then the other interesting thing is agape love feast expressing and fostering mutual love, which used to be held by Christians before the celebration of the Lord's Supper, and which the poorer Christians mingled with the wealthier and partook in common with the rest of food provided at the expense of the wealthy. That's pretty cool, right? I mean, how many of you have gone to a church and, a lot of people bring food out of potluck, especially in a Baptist church, and you got poor people and you got, rich people, and they're all eating together. So this is the type of love that is agape love. All right. So then you can go to Thayer's index scripture and you can look through all these verses and look at how love is used, in Second Corinthians, in 2 Corinthians 2:8, wherefore I urge you to reaffirm your love for him. And then I love this, 2 Corinthians 5:14, for the love of Christ controls us, having concluded this, that one died for all, therefore all died. And then you can just keep going through here and looking at this. So in the context of Colossians, then, let's go back to our verse here. I'm going to flip it back one more. Okay. We have already looked at all the stuff to put off, which is above here, all the anger and all that stuff. We already looked at that. Then we looked at what to put on and why, because we've been chosen of God. We're holy and loved by God. And then we've been told to bear with one another and to forgive each other. And now Paul is telling the Colossians, beyond all these things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. Okay, so I'm going to stop there so I can come back. All right, so beyond all these things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. It's interesting because unity is something that the world claims it wants under the guise of diversity, right? I mean, if you think about that, it's quite profound actually to think about it. The world wants unity, peace on earth, but the only way that you can actually have it is if you put on agape love, right? Which is something that most believers have no interest in, as evidenced by this video. And it's interesting. I'm gonna look up one other thing here because I'm curious, and this is where my curious mind gets me. I want to see what the word for unity is. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so it says here, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. Okay, so this is interesting. So bond of unity is a phrase, and it looks like it's this word here, sundesmos. I don't know. Let's see if I say it.
Strong's G 4886. Sundismas.
Okay.
Sundismas.
Sundesmos. And looks like this is a word that's only used 4 times, so it's a very rare word. Let's look at the verses it's used in. Acts 8:23, for I see that you are in the gall of bitterness and in the bondage of iniquity. That's interesting. Being diligent to preserve the unity of the Spirit and the bond of peace. Okay, so it's actually pronounced, it's a word for bondage. That's interesting. Bond, okay. And not holding fast to the head, from whom the entire body, being supplied and held together by the joints and ligaments, so that's the word there, grows with the growth which is from God. And then it says here, okay, that's why. Okay, it's not the right word. Okay, beyond all these things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. Okay, so we're actually looking at the word bond here. I looked at the wrong word. I thought it was, no, okay, bond of unity. Okay, so there is no separate word for unity. So let's click on that, though, and see what happens. Okay, so here's the other verses. Apparently, it's used in 5 verses. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. In them, or I in them, and you and me, that they may be perfected in unity, so that the world may know that you sent me and loved them, even as you have loved me. Being diligent to preserve the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Okay, until we all attain to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to a mature man, to the measure of the stature which belongs to the fullness of Christ. And then the verse we're looking at, the perfect bond of unity. So this is kind of interesting because the bond idea is a bond. It's like your bond, like a handcuff, of unity. That's how I'm kind of looking at this. So the bond of unity. Okay, so here, then, you can see this word bondage, the word bondage. So I wonder if bondage of unity would be an interesting way to look at this, because it looks like it's emphasizing the word bond and band, but not unity in this thing. So which it says here, that which binds together a bond of ligaments by which the members of the human body are united together, that which is bound together, a bundle, right? Okay. The Strong's word here, and it says show all, so we'll do that. Says here, that which binds together a bond of the ligaments by which the members of the human body are united together. So there you go. That's kind of the idea here. So Plutarch said, that in which all the virtues are so bound together that perfection is the result and not one of them is lacking to that perfection. So there you go. So in other words, then, Colossians 3:14 is telling us to put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. And I am going to go to the NLT again and look and see what it says again. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. Okay. All right. So the bottom line is that if you're going to think like Christ, guess what? You're going to have to learn to put on the bond, to put on love, which is agape love, which is the perfect bond of unity, which again is something that I think today, sadly, the church lacks big time, at least in America. There's like no desire for it whatsoever. It's like, oh, we don't want to talk about God's love. We don't even want to practice his love. And yet that's what everybody wants, right? Everybody supposedly wants God's love. They want to be loved. They want to be unified. They want to be in unity. Um, and yet, you know, so much of what I see is exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite of that. People want divisive behavior, they want arguing, they want controversy, they want people who are mad, they just want to get back at each other. And that goes completely contrary to the bond of unity. And here's an interesting thing that happened yesterday. And I will talk about this a little bit because I think it's really important. A very influential man yesterday committed suicide. And it was a couple of days ago. This guy, in fact, I'll bring up his suicide note. Let's see here. I got to bring it up on my page, though. Hold on a second. It'll take a second for me to get to Facebook so I can pull it up. So this guy was an advocate for children because he was sexually abused as a child himself. And he went ahead and he decided that he was going to kill himself. And he wrote a very sad, I'm going to go ahead here. Wait, hold on. Suicide note. And maybe some of you have heard of him, R.L. Stoller. He was a child liberation theologian, child and survivor advocate. So this guy here, he did a lot of things for those people, a lot of people who were abused in the church, especially those who were involved in homeschooling cults. Bill Gothard, the Quiverful movements, all this stuff. Anyway, a lot of people who are getting abused in the church. And this guy, I didn't know who he was, to be honest with you. But when I read his suicide note, I had a lot of thoughts go through my mind, because here's a guy who was abused sexually as a child, who never experienced, at least it doesn't seem like he's experienced, God's love. And he wrote this in his suicide note. He wrote, "And you could have it all, my empire of dirt. I will let you down. I will make you hurt." 9 Inch Nails, the song Hurt, or a poem. I don't know if I don't know who that is, but anyway. So he writes this, and he writes, "Dear family and friends, my spouse is divorcing me. While she has supported me through so much, and I hope she finds the happiness and love she deserves, I am, of course, heartbroken and devastated. She asked me to not discuss her decision publicly, which I have respected for months. I must finally break that promise now, though, because it's necessary to understand what you will read next. As I approach life without my best friend in a fascist hellscape, I see little to no path forward. For over a decade, I have been a burden on those I love the most, and I do not want to burden others similarly again. My spouse has been more patient and supportive than anyone else I have ever met, more than family even. But even she found my struggles to be too much. I have been too much my whole life, and it has worn me down to a shadow. Some of you have loved me well. Some of you have loved me through so much, from a troubled, rebellious youth enamored with a debate to a jaded college student in love with liberation theology, to a poetry writing apostate bartending at Mexican restaurants and strip clubs, to an advocate for fellow homeschool alumni and a founder of multiple nonprofit organizations fighting for the health and safety and rights of children, to an author of a book on child liberation theology, to an election specialist responsible for the safety and security training of Santa Clara County's thousands of election workers. Thank you so much to everyone who played an important role in this life of mine. While I have spent most of my life waking up wishing that I was dead, there have been occasional flashes and sparks of light and meaning that made the pain more bearable. Those flashes and sparks are all of you. Some of you may be surprised by this act. This is the act of suicide he's talking about. But please know, it is not impulsive. I've been planning this for a moment. I've been planning for this moment and working on this note for several years now. I wanted to do this several months ago, but I felt guilty about abandoning my work responsibilities. So I was trying to make it through the November election instead, but I don't think I can do that anymore. The divorce process has become nightmarish. Also, I've been open and honest with many of you about my struggles with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, substance abuse, PTSD, and suicidal ideation over the years. This won't be the first time, but it will be the last time, and I will ensure that this is the case. So I got from that he had tried to kill himself prior, which I think is probably some of what happened in his marriage. His wife had to put up with that and deal with a lot of that chaos. Despite previous attempts, I have never written a note. Yeah, I am this time because I feel I owe you all one at this point. I would be heartbroken, but understanding if one of you did something similar, but I would want at least I would want to at least hear from you one last time. So this is me doing that. This is me saying, "Hey friend, I'm sorry about this. I know this will suck, but I fought my whole life and I'm too tired to keep fighting. Sometimes when you're in an ocean swimming against a riptide, you just run out of energy. You want to keep going with all your heart and soul, but your body cannot. This is that moment for me." I read that. I just, how premeditated this is. And he's very clear thinking here. He's not in a delusional state at all. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's sad. So it is time to say goodbye. Goodbye to sunrises and sunsets, to the smell of freshly brewed coffee in the morning, to the sounds of waves crashing lazily on beaches, and my cats purring contentedly beside me. All those things I wrote down in my CBT and DBT classes as reasons why life is still worth living. So this tells me something about him. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, and DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy. CBT deals with your thinking, and DBT deals with how you react. And often people who know a lot or have been engaged in dialectical behavioral therapy, they have to learn how to control their impulses, which suggests to me that his diagnosis might have been wrong, but I don't know. I didn't see him. Anyway. So anyway, none of those matter anymore. When your best friend gives up on you, those other things become cobwebs and shadows, mere replicas of things that once held weighty meaning and significance, but now, like ash in the wind, they blow away, meaningless, as Ecclesiastes puts it. Is there a God? Will I go to heaven or hell? If there is a God, I will go to my eternal destination and slap him in the face. I'm not going to say that word, God, and I'm not going to say that word again. Everyone who loved him more than their own children. I have spent my whole life making excuses for a God who never raised a finger to spare me from being molested as a child or the lifelong consequences of that abuse. You know, I read that as a survivor of almost 20 years of sexual abuse, intentionally started by my mother. And I understand being angry at God, but I don't understand blaming God because God had nothing to do with it. Anyway, those consequences have slowly but surely consumed everything in my life, including now my marriage, and soon here me as well. I have read the Bible backwards and forwards. I have created theology and imagined liberation amongst the ruins of my childhood faith. I have said that Jesus never did. I have said what Jesus never did, and to what end? To whitewash tombs full of the bones of the dead, meaningless. And then I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm not going to continue reading it because he goes on and he talks about the different people in his life, including his children that he's leaving behind. And I just found that really ironic. Here's a guy who never understood God's real love for him. R.L. Stoller may have spent his life fighting for children and those who've been abused in the homeschooling community and things like that. But when a father intentionally kills himself and leaves behind his children, how is that fighting for children? That's becoming the abuser that you're mad at because you've just ended your life and you have left a devastating legacy now for your children. When I read that, I thought, wow, he left behind, he's blaming his wife clearly. And she clearly has spent a lot of time with him. But it's not her fault. It's definitely not her fault. And then he's leaving behind his cats, which he has all over his Facebook page. And I don't know, if you're an animal lover, cats, dogs, for the most part, they love you unconditionally. Give them food, they'll love you forever. How anybody can leave behind a pet and not care about that pet, it says a lot. And also, most important is his family, his children. He's left behind his kids. This is a man who people are heralding as somebody who protected kids and went to bat for kids because he himself was abused as a kid. And yet here he is killing himself, leaving a bad, horrible legacy for his children and devastating the lives of his children. I'm not going to read the rest of his suicide note, but I look at that and, he decided to create his own theology, a man-made theology, which is not biblical. And this guy wasn't rooted in the Bible. He may have read the Bible backwards and forwards, but he didn't understand it clearly. Or if he did, he didn't like it. He didn't like what Jesus did for him on the cross, which, if you want to talk about abuse on a massive scale, what Jesus did on the cross for us is the most horrific abuse anybody on the planet could ever go through, including sexual abuse, because Jesus was naked when he hung on a cross. So agape love in the church is so important that we put on love, because it is the perfect bond of unity. And I hope and pray that R.L. Stoller knew the Lord, because I don't believe you can lose your salvation. I don't think if somebody kills themselves, they will lose their salvation. But you can lose your reward, right? So I hope he knew the Lord, but clearly he was abused. But abuse and then leaving a suicide note, that's tragic. And it's tragic. I don't know about his mental health journey, but if he had all the diagnoses that he did, then I suspect that he had complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And it sounds like he had some other issues that weren't listed. I don't know if he was bipolar or not. Sometimes people are misdiagnosed a lot. He could have been borderline or something else. So either way, he didn't experience God's love. He didn't understand the perfect bond of unity. And now he has left a devastating legacy to his children and his ex-wife, who he's basically blaming for his death, which we need to pray for her, because she's now dealing with that, probably has struggled with that, because if he tried to kill himself numerous times before, she's had to deal with that chaos, and it sounds like she had enough of it, which most people, that's abuse. What he did is abusive. So don't miss, though, that he's being heralded as a hero when this last act kind of shows he wasn't. So anyway, so that is my lesson for today. If you watch this, let me know. Leave me a comment. Many of you are going to watch the replay, hopefully. And I hope you have a better day. I hope you can meditate in God's word, realize how much the Lord loves you, and how much his real people do too. There's a lot of fakers out there. There are a lot of people out there who don't care. Those aren't the people that you hang out with. You hang out with the real people, the real disciples, because God is love. And he really does love us. And so I hope that you can take some of this to heart. So in my next video, I plan on talking about some other stuff. I'm going to continue doing some Bible review stuff, which I'm going to keep showing you stuff. I got a couple new Bibles I'm going to show you that I got, some new ones, and hopefully it will encourage you to get a new Bible, learn some new stuff. So, and my baby boy here, he got a haircut today, and he's laying down, being a good boy. Yeah, he is. So, anyway, all right. I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope you have a better day, people.